Adaptations of plants to their environment. Plants have different adaptations depending on the environment in which they grow in. These adaptations enable the plants to survive in the particular environments. Some plants are adapted for wet areas. Other plants are adapted for dry areas, while others grow in average environments. Adaptations of plants to wet areas. Plants that grow in environments with a lot of water are called hydrophytes. Hydrophytes develop adaptations that help them survive in an environment with plenty of water. Some of these adaptations are adapted roots, air sacs, flexible stems, floating flowers, increased stomata, large flat leaves, waxy surface, thin cuticle. Adapted roots. The roots of some hydrophytes are often small. This helps to reduce the amount of water that they absorb. Some may have roots that are able to absorb oxygen and mineral salts. The roots are often feathery to support and balance the plant in water. Air sacs. Some aquatic plants have leaves with air sacs. The air sacs enable the plant to float. Flexible stems. Some hydrophytes have tall flexible stems. This ensures that they are not broken by water currents. Instead, the stems sway with the currents. Floating flowers. The flowers of most hydrophytes are raised above the water. This is to allow cross-pollination by small insects. Increased stomata. Stomata are pores on the surface of a leaf that allow for gaseous exchange. All plants have stomata on their leaves. Most hydrophytes have stomata adopted for their environment. Plants such as water lily where the leaves float on water. Most of the stomata are on the upper surface of the leaf. The stomata remain open most of the time. This is to allow absorption of gases, mainly oxygen, and light for photosynthesis. Large flat leaves. Most hydrophytes have large flat leaves. These enable the plant to float in water. They also allow for easy exchange of gases used by the plant. Waxy surface. Some hydrophytes have leaves with a waxy or hairy upper surface. This prevents any water from standing on the leaf, which may reduce the amount of water loss. The hair and wax, therefore, help to keep the stomata open and clear. Thin cuticle. Hydrophytes have a thin cuticle covering their leaf surface. This is because they do not need to reduce the amount of water loss. This is unlike xerophytes that have a thick cuticle to reduce the amount of water loss. Adaptations of plants to dry areas. Plants that grow in dry areas are known as xerophytes. These plants have adaptations that help them survive in a dry environment. Some of these adaptations are needle-like leaves, unpleasant smell and taste, deep and long root system, few stomata, Rolling leaves. Succulency. Shedding of leaves. Opening and closing of stomata. Sunken stomata. Thick waxy cuticle. Shiny hairs. Needle-like leaves. Some desert plants have small needle-like leaves or sharp spines. The reduction in the size of the leaves reduces the amount of water lost in transpiration. The spines also protect the plants from being fed on by animals living in the desert. Unpleasant smell and taste. Some plants produce an unpleasant smell and an unpleasant taste. These characteristics keep off desert animals from eating them. Deep and long root system. Some desert plants develop extremely deep roots. They dig deep into the ground so that they can reach the moisture. They also develop long root systems spread out wide. This helps them reach as much water as possible. Few stomata. Some desert plants have fewer stomata. Stomata are holes in the surface of leaves that are used for gaseous exchange. The reduced number of stomata greatly reduces the amount of water loss. Rolling leaves. Some desert plants roll or fold their leaves. In this way only one side of the leaf is exposed to sunlight and wind. This reduces the amount of water loss. The rolled leaves also trap moist air and make it available for the plant. Succulent plants. Succulent plants are also known as succulents or sometimes fat plants. They are plants that are more than normally thickened and fleshy, usually to retain water in arid climates or soil conditions. Succulent plants may store water in various structures, such as leaves and stems. This means they are able to store water in their tissues. Shedding of leaves. Some plants lose their leaves when water is in short supply. Plants that lose their leaves are called deciduous plants. Loss of leaves reduce transpiration and evaporation of water. Without the leaves, the plants do not carry out photosynthesis. They do not, therefore, make food. The plants become inactive during the dry period. They are said to be dormant. They, however, become alive and active again once water becomes available. Opening and closing of stomata. The stomata of some plants close during the day when much evaporation is likely to take place. They then open at night when the amount of evaporation is minimal. Sunken stomata. In some plants, the stomata may be sunken, that is, hidden in small depressions on the leaf surface. Sunken stomata are less exposed to the sun and wind that increase the amount of evaporation. Thick waxy cuticle. Other plants have leaves whose surface is covered by a thick waxy cuticle. This reduces the amount of water lost through evaporation. Shiny hairs. Other plants have their leaves covered with normal or silvery shiny hairs. Normal hairs trap water vapor from the air. Silvery hairs reflect sunlight and heat reaching the leaves. This reduces the temperature on the leaf surface and hence the amount of water lost through evaporation. Adaptations of mesophytes. Mesophytes are the plants that grow under normal soil and water conditions. They require an average amount of water. Mesophytes do not have any specific adaptations to their environment. Majority of mesophytes have broad, flat and green leaves. They also have extensive fibrous root system to absorb water. These plants are found in average conditions of temperature and moisture and grow in soil that has no water logging. They usually have larger and thinner leaves compared to xerophytes. Some have a greater number of stomata on the undersides of leaves. When they are exposed to extreme conditions, they lose water rapidly and are not tolerant of drought. Examples of mesophytes include plants such as maize, beans, potatoes, bananas, sugar cane. Thank you for watching this lesson. It is our hope that you now have a good understanding of the various adaptations of plants to their environments. Don't forget to subscribe to this channel and other Genius channels relevant to your level of study.